Today is Saturday, July 4th, the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. So happy 4th of July to my future self and anybody who may happen to see this. Okay, so the whole point in these videos, of course, is to track the progress of growth in all these containers as a way of telling my future self changes that I should make next year or the year after or whatever. You know, what mistakes did I make this year? And so I have some things to point out to my future self in this video. That looks gorgeous. It looks absolutely gorgeous, but there are some problems with it. So let's take a look. My number one issue is failing to anticipate just how much all of this was going to fill in. So here we are just at the beginning of July, and this stuff has just crazily filled in, and it's too crowded, it's too much. I'm struggling to find ways to separate it. You can't tell, but I actually took out one of the biggest pots from right here and moved it to the front porch. That was the daylily pot. I have a video called Daylily Experiment, which is going quite well. I'll do an update on that sometime. But it wanted more sun anyway, but there was just no room for it here. And now looking at this, it's like, well, where the heck was it anyway? Because it's still crammed full. And yeah, this stuff has just really taken off. A lot of this is because, you know, I do fertilize faithfully once a week. And I mean, look at this. Look at that. You can hardly tell where the container is. It's just massive. This is just a big, massive mound of purple flowers, which I absolutely love. That was one of my goals, mission accomplished. But you see, I have this and they're growing together and I can't really separate them. And I have all this stuff down here that I've separated it a little bit, and I'm still finding ways to move things around, but I've got too much. So my main note to my future self, and I may have said this in a previous video, is I need to not do this much. You know, this here is absolutely gorgeous, and that was intended when I originally built these planters. You know, the intent was that these would be, you know, the focus, and they're beautiful, they're absolutely gorgeous, but you can't see them from the other side because I've buried them in other plants. So I really think that next year I need to not put all this stuff on the inside like I did this year. And look at this. I mean, I've had these planters here for years, but I've never had the passage between them be so narrow. And the reason for that is partially because of what I planted there, but also because I'm fertilizing it. Everything is just really taking off, and it's beautiful, but it's more overgrown than I meant it to be. And you know, everything is merging together. These two pots are merging together, as are these two here. I don't really like that. I've managed to move this one and this one away from the others a little bit, but still, this is just crazy. It is too much. So I really need to think next year about what I want to do here. You know, once everything is all grown in like this, it's gorgeous. I mean, there's just no denying that it's gorgeous, but it's too much. Look at that. That's an urn planter under there, and you can hardly tell. It's a tall urn planter. You know, these are growing together. I think I noted that in a previous video, but yeah, they're becoming just one solid mass. This stuff here, I guess it's still doing well, but at this point, the stuff in this planter is being really overshadowed by the stuff in that planter and all these clematises that are just taking off and filling in this grill. And when they do that, you know, of course, they're casting more shadow on this planter down here. Although it does seem to be doing okay. But yeah, yeah, I think it's gorgeous. I love it. And if people see it in person, which has happened several times, a lot of people have seen it in person, you know, they compliment about how pretty it is, and it is. I like it, but it's just, it's too much. It's too much. I do like having all of this stuff around here. I think having the plants surround that little pond works out really well. But I don't need all this other stuff on the inside. I'm thinking of maybe not having any of those planters at all, not having any of those, not having any of those. I can have more than one down here like I have at the other end. But yeah. So the other thing is, in both of the hanging baskets, I have an aphid problem. And I first noticed it because they were visibly suffering, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. And then I noticed, let's see if we can capture them. Noticed all these white things all over the leaves. And it turns out they are the exoskeletons of aphids. Actually, there are fewer of them. Well, they're still there. They're the exoskeletons of aphids, and then I started seeing the aphids themselves, and then also ants that apparently farm these aphids for their something called aphid dew or something. I forget what it's called. But anyway, it's something the aphids excrete that the ants like. So I also had to put ant spray on the ropes from which they're hanging to kill off the ants, because that's how they were getting around, was on those ropes. So anyway, all of this looks gorgeous. I love it. Everything's super healthy. Here's another planter that I had to move away. I forget where that was. Oh, that was over here. And of course that big lily pot that I took to the front yard. And honestly, I need to do something with. I'd like to move probably that white one there and that white one there off of the porch, but I just don't have any place to put them. So I've got to figure that out. I didn't anticipate the need to move these pots off. I should have. I really should have, but I did not. So the result is that, oh, I forgot to mention about the aphids. So I am treating these. I watched a YouTube video, several YouTube videos on treating aphids, and I found one specifically about treating aphids on calibrachoas. And so this guy was suggesting alternating between two different products, one of which is called insecticidal soap, and the other, I couldn't find the one he was talking about, but I just chose something else with a different active ingredient, and that was neem oil, N-E-E-M, neem oil, and I got that at Lowe's. I also got the insecticidal soap at Lowe's. So at this point, I have treated this once, first with the insecticidal soap, then I waited 3 days, then I treated it with the neem oil. I can't really tell if anything is happening as a result of that yet. I can't say the plants look a whole lot better, but maybe I could say they're not degrading anymore. I'm not sure. But anyway, so yeah, I'm working on getting rid of aphids. And happily, these, I don't know why, considering how many plants I have here, and certainly many other calibrachoas, but I'm only finding the aphids in these two hanging baskets. I don't see any evidence of them elsewhere. And like I said, the reason I noticed them was because I could tell the plants were under distress, and I was trying to figure out why. And that was when I discovered the reason. I mean, they're just absolutely covered, or were. But none of these plants down here are showing any kind of indication of being attacked by a pest. They're all doing great. So, all right, that is it for this week. So, notes to future self. You need to tone it back a bit, dude. Yep, you got carried away for sure. All right.